Merda, this area looks like it's been dead for years.
Pausing mid-stride, I cock an eyebrow at Breixo's comment, the corner of my mouth quirking upward in a fleeting smile. Bit dramatic, don't you think, mate? Though I suppose the atmosphere does lend itself to apocalyptic vibes. My gaze roams over the abandoned buildings, weeds sprouting from cracks in the pavement. Still, it's got character, if nothing else. Should be an interesting spot to scout out, especially with Manuel's keen eye for the theatrical.
All right, here we are. This is the place. Let's check it out. I push open the creaky door, stepping inside the dimly lit warehouse, my footsteps echoing off the walls.
Vale, Tio, I mutter, my hands shoved deep into my pockets as I follow Manuel into the dim interior, my gaze immediately drawn to the rough-hewn beams overhead and the rusty machinery scattered about. Looks like it's been a while since anyone set foot in here. Not exactly the Ritz, but I trail off, a pensive expression settling on my face as I begin to wander the perimeter, my ears attuned to the faint sounds of scuttling rodents or creaking woodwork.
I trail behind the others, my fingers absently drumming against the wall as I take in the musty scent of neglect and age, my ears tuning into the creaks and groans of the decaying structure, a half-smile twisting on my lips as I mumble. Feels a bit like trespassing, this. Not that I'm complaining. As I move deeper into the warehouse, I pause to examine the worn stone walls, lost in thought. Lark mentioned new songs, Manuel. Think she might be onto something. This atmosphere has definite potential.
You know, this place has tons of potential. But I still want to check out some of the other spots on our list, like that abandoned butcher shop I was telling you about. Who knows? Maybe we'll find something even better.
Guay, Manuel, always chasing the next big thing, eh? I remark dryly, raising an eyebrow at his enthusiasm. Not that I'm complaining, pero shouldn't we make sure this place doesn't have any unwanted tenants before we get too excited? You know, squatters, or worse, actual zombies? I say with a hint of irony, surveying the dim recesses of the warehouse with a critical eye, my hands still buried in my pockets.
Chuckling softly at Breixo's skepticism, I reply, fair point, mate. Wouldn't want to stumble upon any unsavory surprises, living or undead. Shall we do a quick reconnaissance? Make sure we're alone in here. With a flicker of my wrist, I produce a match from my pocket, holding it aloft like a makeshift torch as I take a cautious step forward, illuminating cobweb-shrouded corners and shadowy crevices. You never know what secrets this place might hold, I muse aloud, casting a sly smirk towards Lark.
Are you trying to spook me? I ask, raising an eyebrow slightly as Vicente moves deeper into the warehouse.
Blimey, wouldn't dream of it, Lark, I assure, flashing a quick, impish grin as I pivot to face her, the match still held aloft like a tiny beacon. Just being cautious is all. Can't have us stumbling into a horror movie cliché now, can we? My gaze darts briefly towards Breixo, his sardonic comment still ringing in my ears, before returning to Lark. Besides, think I'd rather rely on your observational skills than chance it alone. You're the writer after all. Lead the way, and I'll keep pace.
Oh, I see. I will lead the way, I say, and squint into the dark room ahead as I let Vicente fall half a step behind me.
Tio, that match isn't doing much to light up the place, is it? I remarked dryly, eyeing the feeble flame. Can't you just use your Movel's flashlight like a normal person, instead of trying to channel some sort of Indiana Jones vibe?
I give a low, dry chuckle, holding the match steady, its flame casting flickering shadows on the walls as I fall in beside Lark. Suppose it's more about the theatrics, Breixo. Couldn't resist setting the mood. Now, shall we proceed before it gets too dark in here?
Vale, let's check out that room over there.
I pivot as Manuel suddenly leads the way into a dark room within the warehouse, leaving Vicente with the tiny matchlight behind.
Bloody hell, I curse silently, left with this pathetic excuse for a light source as Manuel disappears into the darkness. Espera, I call out sharply, hastening to catch up with him and Lark, my heart rate ticking upward despite my outward composure. As I dart after them, I rummage through my pockets to dig out my mobile, flicking on the flashlight app to supplement the faltering match. Should have listened to Breixo and used this from the start, I mutter, chastising myself beneath my breath.
Well, looks like Vicente's finally seen the light. Literally, I comment dryly, watching as Vicente hastily produces his mobile to augment the fading matchlight, a hint of amusement dancing on my lips. No pun intended, Tio. Guess even the resident drama king needs a little illumination now and then. I quicken my pace to keep up with Lark and Vicente, my gaze fixed on the faint beam of light ahead, and promptly walk face first into a rusty old pipe hanging from the ceiling.
I pause mid-stride, shining my mobile's light backward to illuminate the scene, a smirk twitching at the corner of my mouth as Breixo stumbles backward, losing his balance. Looks like someone's got a bit of a pipe dream going on, eh? I quip, my tone laced with amusement. Guess that's what happens when you're too busy being a smart-arse to watch where you're going.
Ugh, shut up, Vicente. I mumble, still reeling from the impact, my vision blurry for a second before I blink it clear, trying to regain my composure. Just give me a sec. I trail off, taking a few tentative steps forward, my hand instinctively reaching up to rub the sore spot on my forehead. No need to fuss over it, Lark. I add in a slightly softer tone, though still maintaining a hint of reserve, my gaze drifting away from hers, avoiding direct contact. Maybe I did hit my head harder than I thought if I'm getting sentimental now.
He seems pretty much himself. Do you remember what just happened? I ask him as I check for a concussion.
Sí, vámonos, Manuel. Share the secrets of the mystical warehouse room, I say, rolling my eyes, trying to inject some levity into the situation as I take a slow step forward, testing my bearings, and promptly stumble again, this time onto my knee, with a soft grunt. Merda, I mutter under my breath, scrambling to regain my footing.
Breixo, you should stay where you are for a moment, I say, sternness in my voice. I promptly step forward and place my hands on his shoulders to steady him and ease him to slowly sit down on the ground.
Vale, doctora. I comply reluctantly, feeling a flash of embarrassment as Lark intervenes once more, but my body agrees with her assessment, so I surrender to the inevitable, letting out a low sigh as I sit down on the dusty floor. Genial, I mutter, wiping dirt off my cheek.
I watch with some amusement in the bluish light of Vicente's phone, as Breixo smears the dirt further across his face.
Haha, Breixo, are you alright, hombre? That was quite a show, I say with a chuckle, shaking my head, relieved he's not hurt badly. As I look around the room, my gaze sweeps over the space. Anyway, as I was saying, I found some old crates and stuff that could work for our zombie fest. Maybe we can repurpose them as barricades or something.
Crikey, you're a mess, Breixo, I observe laconically, surveying his streaked face and dusty attire with an air of detached fascination. Perhaps we ought to leave the dramatic performances for the stage, My attention shifts to Manuel's enthusiastic explanation, my interest piqued despite myself. Barricades, you say? Not a bad idea, really. What kind of crates did you find? Anything sturdy enough to withstand a horde of ravenous undead?
Thanks for the vote of confidence, Vicente, I say dryly, scrubbing futilely at the dirt on my face with my sleeve. My gaze drifts over to Manuel. ¿Qué tipo de cajas encontraste, Manuel?
Budget-wise, we'll figure it out, Vicente. I know some people who can hook us up with decent prices on the equipment. And honestly, if we can pull this off, it'll be worth every euro. We'll get publicity, buzz, and a sick show out of it. Plus, think of the Instagram pics, güey. I grin mischievously, my enthusiasm infectious.
Sí, genial. Más publicidad, más fotos en Instagram. I mutter, reaching up to rub my head, but hesitating as my fingers brush against the sore spot, wincing slightly at the tenderness.
Do you feel nauseous? I ask him, as I squat down to be at eye level.
Nauseous, sí, un poco, I confess, begrudgingly, rubbing the side of my head gingerly. Pero no es gran cosa, doctora. I try to reassure her, my tone a tad dismissive, attempting to play down the severity of my condition. Just a small bump, ya sabes. Ay, déjame, Lark, no soy un bebé. I mutter irritably, shaking my head and gently pushing away Lark's supporting hands, though I immediately regret it as the room begins to spin again, forcing me to grab onto her arm instead. Vale, lo siento, I admit gruffly, reluctantly accepting her help.
Step forward, noticing Lark straining a bit to hold Breixo up. Hey, cuidado, Lark. Déjame ayudar, I offer, moving in to support Breixo from the other side, careful not to make any sudden moves that might make things worse.
Estoy bien, I repeat, trying to sound convincing, my grip on Lark's arm tightening involuntarily as the world continues to spin. Just need a minute, un minuto más, y estaré. My gaze drifts off towards Lark's face, my eyes narrowing slightly as I struggle to focus. No way, I protest, my grip on Lark's arm tightening. No necesito un médico, estoy bien, solo necesito... I trail off, unsure of what I need, but certain I don't want to go to the clinic.
Why don't you want to go? I ask him, my tone gently curious.
Because I don't want them asking me a bunch of stupid questions and sticking me in a room full of bright lights and then having to wait hours and hours for someone to attend to me? I grumble, opening my eyes just enough to glare at Lark. Ya he pasado por eso antes, thanks. Vale, I murmur, feeling the coolness spread across my forehead once more. Esto es agradable, I admit, my eyelids drooping slightly as the gentle touch soothed me. Tengo una pregunta más, Lark, I venture, my words a little sluggish.
Fire away, I reply, eyeing his condition.
¿Por qué siempre te preocupas por mí, Lark? I ask quietly, my brow furrowing slightly beneath the cooling cloth, genuinely curious about why she bothers. Eres la única que lo hace, ya sabes? I trail off, my gaze drifting away from hers, unsure how to phrase my thoughts.
Aw, don't be silly, I say, a gentle amusement in my tone. I'm just helping you now because I know how and it's the right thing. And Manuel was helping too.
Vale, I mutter, feeling a tiny sting of embarrassment. No tienes que ser tan amable conmigo, Lark, I add gruffly, trying to deflect the attention.
Okay, next up is the abandoned meat factory that I scoped out yesterday. Puede ser interesante, I say, squinting against the sunlight. It has some potential for the zombie vibe. Let's check it out.
As I shield my eyes from the harsh sun, a half grin plays on my lips, amusement dancing at the edge of my words. Bloody hell, Manuel, you've been busy. Did you sleep at all last night?
Sleep is overrated, Vicente. Besides, someone has to get this zombie fest going, I say with a grin, gesturing towards the direction of the abandoned meat factory. Vamos, let's move.